Ex-millionaires of Reddit. What made you lose all your money? Hi Reddit guys. Subscribe now, or I will ride a chicken. My dad is an ex-millionaire. He's a freaking wizard at starting successful businesses. His problem is he can't let them go. He's the boss owner who never hires a manager that's not family, because he just doesn't trust anyone else to run it. He drove $3 million companies into the ground because he couldn't keep up with his own success and refused to hire people to do it for him. If I can ask, what kind of businesses did your dad start? How did he get into starting his first business? I know these are personal questions, but I like learning from successful people. Not sure how he got into starting them, but he started with a pizza place. Got to like 3 locations before it swamped on him and he had to sell to cover his debts, etc. From there he owned some rental properties. They took off, but as he expanded he wasn't able to keep up with maintenance as he was trying to do most of it himself. The buildings fell into disrepair and eventually he had to sell because he couldn't afford the repairs that were necessary. From there he started arguably his most successful business, a driving school. He got to 5 locations. To this day basically anyone in the state over 40 was taught to drive by him or at one of his schools. He hired my mum to help him run things because his books were a mess. They had an affair. This is where I come in. And when my parents broke up my mum left the business and my dad never hired anyone to fill her spot. Fast forward 5 years and he had to sell yet again just to cover his losses. He ended up getting hired at a local company as a manager and worked there until he retired. Whoa, that's maddening. He wasn't able to keep up with maintenance as he was trying to do most of it himself. Jesus Christ. I can barely keep my house clean and in working order. I can't imagine trying to solo multiple buildings. That's so frustrating, lol. My dad, not me. He made some really shrewd stock market investments after he retired. They were options on an oil refiner at a time when the USA had a real shortage of them. My dad had done a lot of research on this and studied the situation carefully. He got rich to the tune of maybe $2 million. He could have been set for life. My dad was already a really smart guy. He has a PhD in mathematics and was a highly respected big brain professional all the way back into the 1960s. However, he thought this took him to the next level. He bought a lot of newer options in the same company. I suggested to him that he diversify, put a bunch of money into something closer to an annuity or another conservative investment that would give him plenty of income forever. I told him if he did that, he would always be rich. Well, he is pretty far from that now. I haven't said a thing about that to him since he lost everything. I did what I could, at the time, to save him from himself. But who was I? It pains me to see how it played out for him. He did a lot of things right in life. He deserved better, but there's no deserve in securities investing. Morals of this story. You aren't an investment genius after your first blockbuster win. You need a track record. Diversify. Diversify. I can't second this hard enough. My mother-in-law received nearly $1 million in life insurance when my father-in-law passed away. She invested wisely, has lived off the money for the last 20 years, and still has about the same as she did initially. 2008 took about half of it, on paper, but she held on and it basically came right back. 2008 took about half of it, on paper, but she held on and it basically came right back. And this is another big takeaway for people. If you invested in established stocks or funds and something like 2008 or 2020 happens, don't panic and sell off everything. That will only cement your losses. That's the unfortunate reality for a lot of people. So many people sell low and buy high without realizing. Another good piece of advice is regular savings. If you're buying stocks, keep buying at regular intervals. If the market takes a hit, buy a little bit more if you can afford it. You'll make out like a fat rat on the rebound. Exactly. A market slump is like a discount sale on stocks if you're a long-term investor, which most people are. I have a relative who is a self-made millionaire many times over. He was the hardest working person I've ever known. As soon as he graduated from high school he got his real estate license and became a successful realtor. Within 30 years he opened a successful construction company, a store that sold kitchen cabinets, and owned over 20 rental properties. This wasn't enough for him and he started renting out his properties to people that would pay him more to grow pot in. His granite company was used to ship the pot across state lines and now he's sitting in jail facing a minimum of 10 years. The government is coming after all his rentals and money. First real answer. There could have been more with a serious tag. I really wish that the tag wasn't necessary. That's what I was thinking. This question, it's not like there's a non-serious side to it. I watched a guy at a casino somehow get a loan against his house, about $200k, and lose it. He looked suicidal. Apparently he was already in almost $50k and thought he could win it back. I got hired there, and I would leave on Friday and return Monday, and see the same people in the same clothes, who pistoned it themselves and were still sitting at the blackjack table gambling. People like this are the reason hotel rooms in Vegas are so cheap. Hotels rooms in Vegas are cheap. I thought it would cost a fortune to spend a night there. I stayed in Circus for a week for like $250. Granted it's Circus. It was still a pretty cool room. Gambling and spouse terminal illness. I'm sorry. Hypothetical millionaire. I bought $100 worth of Bitcoin when they were about $1 each. I sold them when they were about $2.50 each and was so happy I made money from internet coins. As of the moment I am typing this, those coins would be worth $1,855,000. Yeah, I can sadly and frustratingly one-up this. I have a cool hard 150 BTC, 2.7 million USD, in a wallet I can't access. I have been trying passwords for years and coming up dry, and the worst part is that the wallet is connected to an old work email account that I can't access. The upswing is the company I worked for and email that I used is nearing insolvency for non-overt issues and in fact should be turning massive profits, but alas lousy management was the reason I left, as is why they are failing. So soon I will be able to purchase the domain name cheap and set up an email address for password recovery. I am so excited about this and looking forward to 2021 and diversifying my portfolio if it's still there. That's actually exciting. If you can get access to that account again, you are a millionaire. I hope you get them back. Thanks man. Just thinking about not finding the right password is making me want to vomit. A common template for wealth loss is underestimating the role of luck in the initial wealth accumulation, and, as a result, taking irresponsible risks on new ventures or maintaining lifestyles that overestimate future earning potential. I have seen this with some folks who made money in finance in the 80s and 90s. While extremely smart and hardworking, their path to tens or hundreds of millions of dollars were also pretty lucky. Just to add maybe a relevant point, a ton of people get caught up in economic bubbles. One of our entire provinces in Canada had a massive oil bubble until a few years ago. People genuinely don't understand that bubbles only take you with them regardless of your skills. Most people cannot deal with the truth that they were not smart or genius, they were participants almost by luck, and then they were participants not by luck in losing money almost as fast as the bubble pops. Comment deserves more attention. Read an article about how we tend to think success is self-made, as we like the illusion of having full control over events, despite sometimes being at the right place in the right moment can earn you a lot. It's really hard to get rich without some combination of cleverness and hard work. But it's really easy to be clever and hardworking and not get rich. Absolutely this. Everyone who makes it big was proven right. It doesn't matter whether they insisted that lottery tickets were worth it, that Bitcoin was totally gonna take off, that investing in sprockets was a great idea, or remortgaging the house and dropping it all on the table in Vegas was a good plan. They were right and everyone else was wrong. It's even worse when they had to put a lot of effort into that thing, because they can point to every aspect of what they did and how it was clearly the best decision. Unfortunately, too many of them now just assume they're going to keep succeeding and instead lose it all. I know multiple early adopters of Bitcoin that just could not accept they lucked out and essentially won the lottery. Nope, they were big boy traders now. Then the real traders got into Bitcoin and took all of their money and that was that. Recognize when you've done well and quit while you're ahead, folks. Cocaine is a hell of a drug. Frick you couch. I'm Rick Jamesich. Keep your feet off my couchich. Buy another one, you rich motherfrickers. You know how to end up with $1 million after a year of day trading? Start with $2 million. Do you lose that much on day trading? I was a multi-millionaire for 2 weeks. Then the vacation was over and we exchanged our dongs for euros. I miss being holiday millionaire. Crypto millionaire. Still worth a lot. With my accounts about $850,000 today, I have a lot of XRP. But in 2017 I was worth about $3.5 million before the crash. Lowest was $300,000. I'm a hodler, so I don't day trade usually. What amount did you start off investing with? Do you do it yourself or through a third party? I feel like this is something I should know far more about than I actually do. He could just be the pizza guy who took payment in Bitcoin early on, before they became such a hot item. In the beginning, it took thousands just to get a pie. Now that same transaction would be worth hundreds of thousands, if not millions. My biggest regret is I bought about 200,000 Ripple in 2013. But I got bored and put them for sale at 0.01 C per Ripple. As a pipe dream. They were worth like 0.001 C at the time. I should have just left it. I could have banked some cash on it. If I just left it and sold KT at the peak. No one ever sells at the peak. Daydreaming about what ifs are nice, but don't beat yourself up over it. Okay Reddit guys, subscribe now, or I will ride a chicken.